What's going on, guys? So we're back again with another gameplay video. This time we have Perth Pro Players team member Jimmy here on the left playing Jiren and Neil on the right playing Blue Baby. So just before they get started into the gameplay video, I want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, Team Card Titan. So if you guys want any DBS Seal products or DBS singles, make sure you check out that link in the description below. And for all the people within Australia and New Zealand, check out their auction page on Facebook as well. Now, this is kind of like a little bit of a last hurrah for Baby. This was just before, obviously, the announcement of the errata was out, but it hasn't actually been errata at the time this game was played. So just before, it was obviously targeted a little bit. I think the deck is still pretty playable. It'll be interesting to see how it kind of adapts. I'm sure it will work around it in some way. Red Jiren, I really like this deck. It's definitely a powerhouse. Pretty insane what you can get off with this, and that 8-drop is really, really powerful. So it's going to be interesting to see because Jiren, I guess, relies on attacks being able to actually go through, which Baby relies on attacks not being able to go through. So this is going to be an interesting game. See what happens. Unfortunately, Jimmy has used the effective leader, has whiffed there on the 1 cost, which kind of sucks, but at least we have one cost to play, being able to draw a card, which is great. Now, swinging into a leader, I'm assuming, yep, we just take the damage. That's not a problem there. Look, Baby's happily going to go down to 4. They don't really have a problem with that. But we are going to hit the Jiren, swing into our leader. Just get the damage through while we can. As I said, most of the time, Baby will take damage in the early games if they wish. And that's kind of the joy of this deck, right? You can choose when you actually want to take damages or you just want to stop things. So Neil was thinking what to charge here. Obviously having one Mechiop in there. Really good card in this. The fact that you just get to play it and untap is great. Again, red does have some answers, as every color has some answers to being able to untap continuously. It doesn't really stop it too much, I feel like, with Baby. Because a lot of this stuff, you can just kind of play around, build up your energy, and then once you've got a decent amount of energy, that's when the negates are probably actually important to get going, but still not too bad. Looks like Neil's is going to hit a super combo, draw a card there, and then just pass turn. So he's leaving 1 energy up. Again, that 1 energy could turn into a million negates anyway. I think he has a Revenge Big Bang in hand, so he does have access to that, and I believe he has a Mechiop as well. So access to a lot of negates if he wishes, so it'll be interesting to see what happens here. Jimmy can only hit the 5 cost this turn anyway, can't go into the big boy, so we'll see how it goes. So he's going to take a life. Check in the top. Hopefully we hit a 1-drop this time. Hopefully the other Jiren that we didn't play is the ideal one, yes. So that's the ideal. That's usually the one you want to hit the most because then it obviously helps to search rather than just drawing a card. I guess you guarantee getting a plus off the other one, but with this one you can start finding the pieces that you need, which is great. And it can hit some of the things I guess you're chasing. So we'll see how he goes here. Fingers crossed he does get something off the top here. Look, there's always that chance that you whiff no matter what. However many you run, there's always a chance, right? So we are going to hit a 1 cost. Yep, so then we've got access to another thing if we need to, which is quite nice. Again, this is good if we has Topo in hand as well, because then what we can do is play the Topo out, and then we can actually play this at the end of the turn. So we're getting 2 technically on the board this turn, which I really like anyway. And then just gives us more access to more things that we can evolve on, which is exactly what he's doing. So he's making sure he's getting full value out of this Topo. Playing a Topo, we'll go for the +1. I'm assuming straight away, there's no need not to. Potentially going for an evolve. Let's see what he decides. Yep, so going for the evolve here. Hitting this guy, giving +1k, I'm assuming, to the leader here. Yep, so giving +1k, get a marker on the unison, also gets to draw a card, which is great. So most of the things in this deck replace themselves, which is really good. Helps to keep that hand full. So we are going to hit the other Evolve Jiren, and then we do get to -10k. So let's see what he goes for here. I'm assuming he's just going to start swinging in, trying to either force some negates out of hand, which is always a good thing, or he's going to take him down to a low enough life. The Baby's just going to take it anyway. Which I'm pretty sure he'd be fine with as well. So the fact that this card is so strong, just being able to untap the 2 and draw a card is great. So swinging in again into leader, probably going to eat another negate, I would say, potentially a Mechiop from hand. very easy to be able to just negate these attacks. Looks like we're going down to, I think that'd be 4. Jimmy swinging in again, and then yes, Mechiop just going to go straight there for that, which isn't too bad, right? I guess, look, we got to try to start getting these cards from hand as quick as we possibly can, but with this deck, it's almost impossible not to have some form of negate at some point, right? So we are going to hit a 1 cost off the topo. Checking. Okay, so it looks like potentially we're counterplaying. Okay, potentially we're going to counterplay that instead. So we're going to take that and just get it bottom deck straight away. Fair enough. And then we're not getting full value out of it, I guess, which isn't too bad. And then he also gets a body on the board, which is quite nice for him. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the new Baby Errata as well. How they go, because they're obviously going to have to go into some damage steps, which I think probably makes it a little bit nicer for the opponent rather than them just negating literally everything. You can eventually get to some battle steps, which is good, right? That's kind of what the game needs. You always need to hit some form of combo step to start playing. Start killing someone, you need to get hit combo. If you can't hit combo, it feels like you're just banging your head against a brick wall sometimes. So, at least he's got his Awaken here quite comfortably. So getting his draw, he can start plussing up a little bit more. Obviously, you can have a check with Leader Effect once again. Be able to add something, so he's adding a counter, and then he has to bottom deck, I believe, 1 card from hand as well, which can be obviously beneficial in the end of the game or in the long run when he can actually check the bottom with the 4 cost and play something out. Not too important right now, but he's obviously valuing this counterplay right now, which I definitely think is fair. Obviously, hitting these 1-drops is pretty important. So, good thing here for Jimmy is what he can do is actually start to go into his 8 cost in the next turn, right? So it looks like Neil's deciding to try to put some pressure onto the actual Jirens that are on the board right now. Being Jimmy, obviously he can protect. Knowing there's quite a few attacks on the board, it's not terrible to protect, but he's already got 1 evolve cost that I think you probably prefer to protect that instead. So probably swing it into Unison here. Not a problem. So losing a marker. Okay, the Unison's great. Obviously, it helps to facilitate all those evolves during your turn, during your opponent's turn, which can be pretty clutch. But at the end of the day, the Unison's not the main part of the deck. I think the 8 cost is the main part of the deck, and that's what you really want to have out on the board for pretty much most of the game if you can, as long as you can avoid some form of removal, I guess, right? So we put a little bit of pressure on. So it would have been interesting to see if Neil just kept trying to hit that 4 cost Jiren. So I think it was the right choice just to let it go, unless for some reason Jimmy was able to do like an evolve up into the 5 and then evolve into the 8 in this next turn, but he's already got the 5 on the board quite comfortably. Usually you want to have obviously the 2 underneath, so then you get more access to more restands. That's the ideal thing. So we are going the plus. We're going to go the effective leader. We're going to check top. So hopefully we can hit a 1-drop once again. So we are going to hit a Kunchi, it looks like here. So this one allows us to draw a card, which is great. And then we also get to minus 4k as well. So minusing 4k. It's not huge, but it can kind of bring things down to an easier part where you can kind of force some damage through, or you can take the card away. Now, Jimmy trying to get hopefully 1 energy worth of something here that he can play out. So then he gets the full effect of his Awaken, which he is going to hit, which is great. And Broly Crown in a matchup like this is awesome, right? I guess it depends on, this is the thing, it depends on what Neil's going to be able to do or what Jimmy's going to be able to do in this turn. Now, the Revenge Big Bangs you can't touch, Dimension Magic you can't touch, and also the Unison. So the only thing really is the counterplay or a super combo, which is, I guess, a little bit unfortunate, but I think a super combo is definitely a valuable thing to get rid of. Knowing we only have, we have 3 negates in hand, but the fact that we can keep drawing up as well is pretty insane. So he can keep drawing with those Revenge Big Bangs and start to build up his hand more and more all the time. So, yeah, Broly Crown's definitely one of those cards that I think you need to, I guess you need to figure out when's the best time to do it, right? And now knowing what's in hand, it's kind of good, but unfortunately, he does have Hatch just there, right? So, if I was Jimmy, what I would do is probably hit the leader swing first, right? Knowing that we're probably going to hit hatched, that allows us to at least draw a card off that leader swing rather than going for anything too crazy. Hopefully he has found an 8 cost. But looks like maybe Neil's not going for the hatch, which is interesting. Don't know if he's going for a negate. Doesn't seem like it because Jimmy has drawn. So he's preferring to go into the actual combo step. And it depends where this has gone as well, right? Maybe this is going into Mechiot rather than leader. Or Neil just feels like he can protect it quite easily, so he's not really too fussed by it. So let's see what he decides to do. And I guess, look, Boo Unison possibly coming down next turn, right? You probably want to keep the hatch for the baby for the Boo Unison, because being able to protect that is pretty insane with hatch, right? And the fact that he can kind of start to, I guess, bottom deck some of the cards that are on the board is really strong. I almost wonder if Jimmy needs to stay on this 5 cost for a little bit of time so that he can protect it a little bit more. So it looks like we've drawn into the Gohan negate that you'd have to bottom deck something. Now, hopefully, I'm wondering, it's going to be curious to see what happens here if we have access to the 8 cost Jiren, so we can just kill that thing straight away. I don't know, that's always an option you can go for. Or you just leave it up on the board, right? But the fact that it kind of clears a body, which we've already got 3 on the board, which are then going to start putting some damage through, it's valuable, but Boo can get rid of it so easily, whereas Boo can't get rid of the 5 cost. He may also decide to wait until the opponent's turn to be able to hit it with the Jiren. Now, the only thing is, though, obviously we saw most of his hand. We haven't seen all of it. So him playing down the Boo Unison means he potentially has access to God Sealing Technique Trunks, right? So what he could do is just bounce that straight away, and then Jimmy doesn't have access to any more energy. So let's see how it all, I guess, plays out. It's going to be interesting. So Neil obviously deciding what to charge here. Charging a Dimension Magic, knowing he has 2 Revenge Big Bangs in hand. So we've got quite a few swings on the board if we wish, which means we can put a little bit of pressure. So swinging into the topo here and just trying to get it off the board. And again, that's definitely a valuable play, right? So what you can do, as I said, is you start just kind of focusing that Unison here, right? And then he has to, it kind of forces him to do the Spirit Boost up into one of the other guys. So let's see what he decides to do. He may be hitting the 8 cost here. Again, not having a Unison on board means it's pretty free to kind of get out, which isn't a bad choice. The only problem is the fact that it can be removed quite easily. So it looks like what we're going to do is we're actually going to hit this bad boy here and give our leader plus 1k. So he's technically almost like he's beamed for the turn, right? So he's 16k, right? But it's kind of like he's beamed for the turn because now all 15ks have to plus up. Now, he is going to lose a marker, unfortunately, obviously, from the swing. And we are going to swing in again. Now, there is always that potential that Jimmy can decide if he wants to go for the Evolve on it as well. Looks like we're deciding to protect it, though, taking a life, gaining a blocker, which, as I said, always you can use that card as the blocker if you wish. Rather, if you don't have any tokens or anything like that, you can use a dice. Depends what you want to do. I always prefer to use a card because it's easy. Probably should use blockers in actual bigger tournaments, of course. Tokens in bigger tournaments, because then obviously the cards being in the drop area can be important, right? So it's always better to use tokens if you do have access to them. We are going to swing in again. Going to block that attack. Get the max value out of this card, I guess. And then we're swinging in again. Now it looks like we're going to Spirit Boost. And we are going to hit this time the Jiren. So we'd have to Spirit Boost and kill it, right? So we wouldn't be able to get any plus anyway. And then we get the minus on the play. We do have to pay our 2 energy, of course. And it looks like we're going to minus that. So we do have to pay our 2 energy to get the Evolve going. Hopefully, yep, Jimmy has realized, thankfully. And then we're going to use the Overlord effect on the baby leader. Hitting Boo as I had expected, of course. Now this card, this Unison is absolutely insane. I feel like it's probably one of the best Unisons in the game at the moment. Of course, it is a high energy cost, but at the same time, the fact that it is a blocker, it restands in a turn, it restands in energy as well. It draws you a card, and also the -1 just being able to bottom deck a card is absolutely insane. It's so powerful. And with blue, there's so much untap as well that the deck is absolutely insane. The Unison is absolutely insane in this deck, right? And this in blue, so it's crazy. Such a strong Unison. Really, really like it. So it looks like we're going to go, so we're at 16k right now, yeah? So we can just take it up to 21, which lets us get out, which is great. So as I said, it's kind of like a bean. It's obviously not as good because you're not 20k, but you are very close. Now, knowing what Neil was probably going to do is bottom deck, or try to bottom deck the 8 cost just here, it's potentially worth swinging into the Unison, or even just using the effect of the Jiren, rather than obviously thinking about the restand. Just use the effect of the Jiren +5 to your leader, so he's also a 20k, because what we need to do is probably deal with this Unison as soon as possible, right? So we can get one marker off if we swing him with the Jiren just here, right? Knowing that he's going to lose something. So it looks like we're going to go to -1 straight away. Yep. So I think Jimmy should have probably just used the effect there, right? He may have forgot about the -1, maybe just played into it. That's okay, though. That's fine. At least that's out of the way for this turn. Now, if he hits an 8 cost, we should be able to get rid of this Unison very, very easily, right? So we are going to swing in here, it looks like. Hit a Revenge Big Bang, and that's the scary thing, right? Is that we have so many negates to be able to kind of counter this a little bit. Scary thing as well is we do know we have Hatch in hand too. So the fact that Hatch can just kind of come down and just stop the whole turn is another thing. So I think what Jimmy needs to do is either do an evolve and swing with leader, or he needs to swing into Unison and maybe just combo that Kunshi off the board, because we don't really need it anymore. It's not really getting us too much value at this point. But just trying to keep those markers low on that Boo Unison, because the higher it stays, the more insane it gets, right? So let's see what he decides to do. So -1 is done, because obviously that's a once per turn thing. Anytime we ever change markers on a Unison, it's always a once per turn thing, and it does happen on the attack, right? So I believe he's still at 3 markers. Looks like we have another 8 cost in hand as well for Jimmy just there. Only downside, though, is if it gets bounced with God's Healing, because he's using it not off the Spirit Boost effect, he'd lose that effect, I believe, because of the way the Evolve reads with the limit 1. So we are going to, look, discard, get 2. I really like this card. It's almost like a little super combo for us, right? So now he's got 10k combo on the board there, which is great. And they're also little Evolve targets. So it looks like we're going to swing in again into the Boo Unison. Assume eating another Revenge, but no. Eating a Meteor, building up that hand once again. So, as I said, kind of interesting to see how it will work with the errata. I assume you have to just combo off most of this board, but then that also makes it a little bit hard because you're not really building up a board to start swinging back into them. So it is going to be very interesting to see what happens with Baby. I still think it'll find a way to work around it. And look, they have great extra cards and things like that as well that allow them to untap so much energy. So we are going to go for, it looks like the Marseille is here, just over them. Clean the board up a little bit. Swinging once again, probably into this Boo Unison, right? And that's kind of what the game becomes, is once this Boo Unison kind of hits the board, it's almost like you have to just clear this card off the board as soon as possible. Now, Jimmy tapping this down makes me feel like the Jiren down makes me feel like he's not going to go for the evolve on the 8, into the 8, sorry. So that's very unfortunate here. The Gohan obviously losing that, but we are going to swing, it looks like, having to discard a card from hand. See what he decides. Sorry, bottom deck a card from hand, my apologies. And then he also gets to draw one. So he doesn't neg there, which isn't too bad. Only downside, I guess, is having to lose a card from hand. Never fun. We are going to have to combo up into the 20k, but we have got access to hopefully a Unison. I believe I saw one earlier in the hand. Because if we do have access to a unison, we can hit that Jiren going into the opponent's turn. Once again, God's Sealing is a card, all right, that Neil, I believe I saw it in his hand. So having access to that can kind of just stop that whole thing from happening. So let's see what we kind of decide to go for here. As I said, this 5-drop is probably more important against this Boo Unison not being able to be removed, or there's a chance it's removed, but there's a chance we can protect it quite easily, which is nice, right? So the fact that he can do that is really good. So it looks like we are going to go for the Evolve. Get the bounce back to hand. Now, I believe the way it reads is, because it wasn't the Spirit Boost, because we're just playing off the Evolve skill, I'm pretty sure the Limit 1 is within the Evolve skill. Now, they've ruled it as if you Spirit Boost it, you can actually Spirit Boost more than one in a turn, right? As long as you've got the energy, of course, to do it, but you can Spirit Boost more than one, because it's actually the Spirit Boost effect that's triggering the Evolve, and not the Evolve effect that's actually on the card. If you try to hardcast it during your turn, you won't be able to do it again. I'm pretty sure that's the way it reads, if I remember correctly. So we're not going to be able to get that, unfortunately. Use our 2 energy. I'm assuming he doesn't have a Topo Unison. Hopefully we have access to some form of negate this next turn. Testing the opposition, always a great card. The fact that he can do that, he can pay the 2 energy as well if he wishes, and then gain a blocker means we can probably stop 2 attacks with this negate if we do have access to it. So let's see what we go from here. Neil going up to, I believe it's 5 energy. So there's always that potential, right, where Neil can actually go for the counter baby, the Golden Avenger, and he could stop all of that and then potentially win through a triple strike. Okay, so this is going to be pretty interesting to see what happens here. And then Jimmy, of course, would have to be able to combo out of all of that. So it looks like we're passing turn. So that should be in warp at the end of the turn, not drop area. I think Jimmy just put it in the wrong area, but that's all right. It's not too bad. So passing over, as I said, we're up to 5 energy. Good thing here is we got a 25k beta. More than likely, we'll probably start swinging into the 5 cost here, right? Just to try to get it off the board, to try to control as much as possible. There is always that potential. That's what he goes for. I don't think it's worth just leaving it on the board, right? Because then we do have access to an 8 cost eventually, right? We're going to eventually have enough energy that we can do something like that. And the Boo will eventually die. You got to put some damage through it. Again, as I said, Neil does have Hatch though, so he can just kind of slow down the whole turn if he wishes. So swinging into, I believe it will be into the 5 cost here. Unfortunately, it may be something we have to let go, but I think Jimmy does have a super combo in hand. So potentially he uses a super combo to protect it. So let's see what he decides. So going for the super combo. Drawing 2. And then getting out of that attack because we're at 29. I believe it's 25. Okay, so interesting. I think we over-comboed there because I'm pretty sure 7 only gains the 10, and I'm pretty sure it was a 15. So as far as I look at that, it's a 25 to a 19. So it would have been a 29 comboing out, but that's all right. We are going to Overlord, of course. Bottom deck and draw a card, and then I think he's thinking about the effect right now if he wants to go for it. And this is the crazy thing, right, is that Baby can just kind of sit at 4 life so easily, have access to everything it needs, have access to it, unlimited energy, and just protect itself. Now, the good thing here is he can kind of overextend going into this turn if he wishes. He can swing with his Boo Unison, and then if it does get countered, he can go for his counter 8, and then he knows he can protect himself with Baby Hatch going into the next turn, which is really nice for Neil. Baby Hatch is being able to stop an entire turn is absolutely insane. Very powerful. And then, obviously, if he starts playing other cards out, it's not too bad. So, looks like we're swinging into lead here, I'm assuming. Swinging a 20k into leader again. So, if Jimmy has a negate, I would assume that you'd probably go for it here. If not, and if you do anyway, probably paying out 2 energy rather than taking a life. Looks like he's deciding to take a life. Now, if I was Neil, I'd probably go for the counter ape just here, right? To stop that whole thing. So he still has to take a life because that's the cost. That's what he's deciding to do. But then going for the counter 8 means that this attack is still happening. And then we can throw a little bit of combo behind it, which would be pretty insane. And then also have access to a 30k triple strike. And I believe I saw that in hand, unless for some reason he bottom decked it, which potentially happened a little bit earlier and I didn't see it. But anyway, passing into Jimmy's turn again. So he's just got a 5k body on the board and a 5k combo. All right, so let's see what Jimmy decides to do here. Again, Boo having a decent amount of markers on it, so we kind of need to... I feel like we probably need to put some damage through into this Boo now, right, while we can. Again, as I said, it's baby. We've got so many negates and things to protect it. It's not worth trying to go into the 8 cost right now. It's probably worth swinging at least one into the Boo, if we can, to then try to get... So then we can try to get the markers off this Boo. So then we can use our 8 cost, because I believe that will put him down to 1 marker. If I remember correctly, if I counted right, I believe it goes down to 1 marker, which is ideal, because then we don't have access to God Sealing. And then what you can do, unfortunately, you probably still lose the 8 cost at the end of the day, right? It's a hard card to get around, unfortunately, in this deck. There's not a lot that just deals with it very easily. Good thing is we've got a free 5k on the board that we can just combo off. So if we swing with this Jiren, free 5k, get that going. So let's see what he decides to do. Potentially playing out maybe one of the 1-drops. Try to find something here. Let's try to build up that hand a little bit more. Let's see what he goes for. So as you can see, Baby just having access to so much energy. And the fact that pretty much all of their cards kind of untap as well. I can also see a Heroic Prospect in hand too, but I'm assuming this turn, if it gets out of hand, you just hit the Baby Hatch and you just protect yourself. You don't need to windmill that card. You can kind of hold on to it until you really need it. Heroic Prospect, though, very good card. So it looks like we're hitting the SCR. So very interesting. Going for more, I guess, of the burn damage here. And the crazy thing is, obviously, Jimmy's not being able to combo from hand, but he can potentially get that burn. I'm pretty sure Boo doesn't have a restriction on what it can bottom deck as well. And I don't think it says you can't use unison skills. I think it's counters and you can't combo from hand, if I remember correctly. So interesting to see what Neil goes for here. Tapping out kind of scary against this Baby deck right now as well, knowing that we do have Boo on the board with the potential for a 5k. So swinging in, hitting Jiren, getting 2 combos. So the great thing here is that Jiren kind of turns this into, as I said, like it's kind of like a super combo. Great thing is now you can combo them from the board, which is quite nice. Not being able to combo from hand makes it a little bit hard, but the fact that he can combo from the board is great. So he does have access to cards like that, where a lot of decks probably wouldn't have access to something like that so easily, I guess. So we are swinging in, I'm assuming once again, into the leader. Comboing up, putting that 10k behind Neil, deciding to take that one. As I said, very safe with what he has. Now, he has Hatch, okay? Has more, I'm sure, more than enough negate. So I don't see being able to close out the game this turn, really. It's going to be kind of hard to finish the game. So we're just going to hit the Heroic Prospect, go for the negate. Anything higher now has to bottom deck. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I believe it's greater than, not equal to, if I remember right. So then what we can do is we can still swing with this, but we do have access, of course, to more negates. It is Blue Baby, and as you expect, right, we've got to have access to more negates. So trying to get these final damages in is going to be very, very difficult. So we are just going to go for... Okay, so he's deciding to take the life. Right? deciding to take the life instead. And then we're going to hit, it looks like, a negate as well instead. So to keep that a little bit more protected. Guarantee now. It looks like Jimmy here is thinking about potentially going in with this 5 cost. And we do have a blocker, look, within the Boo, right? Of course. So we do have access to the Boo. So it looks like maybe he's going to try to go for the win through that. And then obviously he's got the burn. But looks like we do have the counter anyway, which is quite nice for him. So we got that counter. We can protect it. We do have to pay that energy. So it's a little bit heavy over a counter. The fact that we also, as I said, we have access to our Golden Avenger means we can counter. But now if it's at the bottom of our deck as well, we can get the effect of this baby just here and get to play it out, which is pretty insane too. And very, very powerful being able to swing. Anytime we can swing a 30k, as we've seen with Dark Broly and things, it makes it really hard. Unfortunately, Jimmy just being unable to kind of push that one more attack through. Of course, having all of these negates, it would have been pretty interesting. But I think Jimmy realizes there's no way he can really protect himself here. He's not going to be able to combo out. We're going to be able to get some big bodies on the board. So we probably won't be able to finish it. So I think very tough matchup for Jiren, unfortunately. Blue is really, really crazy as how much they can untap, how much energy they can kind of abuse, and then just really protect themselves, which Jiren doesn't like, of course. You know, you want to be able to put some damage through. So as I said, yeah, so he's going to bottom deck the ape and then you just grab it back out, which is pretty insane. So a win there for Baby. I guess, look, interesting to see what's going to happen in the future. Now the errata's in place. I'm curious to see how it's going to be played. Probably a little bit differently than it was just then. But I hope you guys did enjoy the gameplay video. If you did, please remember to subscribe. Hit that bell to stay notified. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.